Hey guys, and welcome to the next episode on the Galaxy's Greatest Podcast. This episode we're going to be talking about terrain. And how is it going, Ollie?
Yeah, good, thank you. Looking forward to it. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. Got myself a new mic, so hopefully you guys can hear me a lot clearer, which is great. Sorry for the guys which don't want to hear me clearer. But that's a you problem, I think. But but anyway, we're going into terrain on this episode, which is a really exciting topic. Just going to have some of our terrain on the back when we had the last Emporium, which is my new event. We had 9 boards. And they're just going to be on the back, which you can sort of see and hopefully sort of admire them and put a lot of effort into these boards. So but anyway, I am definitely getting off topic. Do you want to sort of start talking about the changes of terrain and what they've sort of affected?
Yeah, so I suppose for anybody kind of newer into MCP, the terrain rules have changed quite a bit. So originally, when you and I first started playing, John, it was collisions were based on size. So if you picked up a size 4 and threw it at somebody, you would be taking the damage plus of the size plus 1. So a size 4 building to the face would be 5 damage incoming.
Yeah.
AMG have now kind of leveled it so that everything is 3 damage incoming. So at least there's a consistency between everything. I know when it was first announced, a lot of people were, it doesn't feel very thematic, but I think having thought about it now, it's easier to throw a smaller thing faster, so I can get my head around it, and it does make a little bit more sense. Because a dustbin flying at me at 60 mile an hour is going to hurt as much as a lorry being thrown quite slowly at you, so I don't really want to be hit by either, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The changes, I think, on the whole, are really good. I think some characters are probably affected by it, but 95% of the game probably doesn't dislike it. You're now getting 3 and 4 threats that aren't just getting one shot by a size 4 building coming in their face.
Yeah, definitely. It makes round 1 feel a lot nicer, I think. There was nothing ever fun about running Toad up to pick up an extract thinking he's safe on the midline, and then a Hulk just being like, right, I'm just going to double move, throw a size 4 into him. Oh, you've dazed him. I'm just going to pick up your extract. I think thematically I get what people mean. It's not as thematic as it used to be, but as you said, obviously a dustbin getting thrown into your face 60 miles an hour is going to do a lot of damage, the same as sort of like a truck getting thrown into your face. But I think from a game point of view, it balances the game out very, very nicely, I think. It was a lot of feel-bads where you'd use brace quite early on, and then someone just throw a size 4 into someone, and you'd be like, well, they're obviously dead because they've got like 2 or 3 health left, and you've got 5 incoming damage. So yeah, I think the changes are very, very good altogether.
Yeah, agreed. I think the balance now is that some terrain actually has meaning. Like before, size 1 terrain might as well have been non-existent.
Yeah.
There was no point throwing it. You couldn't get cover behind it unless you were Rocket. So there was no real benefit to it other than like the 2 characters that had the ability to blow it up in Mystique and Punisher. But even then, they're only size 1s are a very small footprint, so you weren't really getting the benefit out of blowing it up because you're unlikely to hit more than 1 character.
Yeah, definitely, and I think characters, which we can get into a little bit later on, but characters like, especially Magneto, it's buffed him, which is really nice to see, because you can just spend 1 power and it's got 3 damage incoming instead of what it used to be 2. And there's obviously a lot more terrain on the board now, so I think normally it used to be about 15 or 16 bits of terrain on the board, and now it's 20, so yeah, it's just more stuff for Magneto to throw, which is great for him. Then you get the characters which, you know, have throws of X amount of power. So like Cable. Why's my mind blank? I swear there's definitely more, but Cable's the
Magneto, Exodus of the other two. I can.
Exodus. There we go. Yeah. So obviously, yeah, they, you know, Cable himself can only, you know, pay 1 and then 3 incoming damage, so it feels much better. So yeah, I think it's buffed a lot of players, but it's obviously nerfed a lot as well. It's nerfed, from the top of my head, I think it's definitely nerfed Rhino. Rhino's damage output isn't necessarily the best as it, you know, on its own, so he sort of wanted that size 4 throw, and obviously with this is a robbery as well, just being able to throw a size 4 or size 5 character into someone else was just so dangerous. So it's definitely nerfed a couple of characters, but I think all in all the balance is very, very healthy for the game, and I think the boards look much nicer with more terrain on them. What do you reckon?
Agreed. I can make my city boards. I think going back onto Rhino, I think, and other characters as well, I think access to size 4 terrain throws, I think there's been a lot of negativity about the fact that you're not getting the benefit of it, but you almost have to look at it as if you can clear line of sight blocking or kind of obstructing terrain. So if you haven't got a lot of wall crawler or flight or place abilities, being able to shift that terrain out of the way is massive. Because having to climb over something or not being able to see a target because they're hidden behind something that big, if you can shift it, like Cable loves it because he can obviously pick up a size 4, throw it out of the way, and then double tap somebody with his gun, so you can't hide from him as well. Although you've lost out on damage, the ability to get rid of that terrain is very limited in the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, which I was going to get onto a bit as well, just saying the characters that you feel like have been nerfed because they can throw size 4s, and now what's the point of throwing a size 4 is against the more crisis teams like Web Warriors or, you know, X-Men or Criminal Syndicate. It feels much better being able, like, if they could hide behind a size 3 or size 4, then they're laughing. But having the characters that can throw it to clear the line of sight, so then your other, like your gun team or, you know, your more attrition heavy team can just pile into them is much better. So I still think, because obviously there's a lot of talk of certain characters that it costs them more to throw, because obviously they've got the size 4 throw, whether they should, you know, get the power reduced. But I still think it should stay the same because, yeah, as you said, like having line of sight and being able to get rid of big bits of terrain is still very, very meaningful. So yeah, I think it's very, very good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's some teams that have probably lost out more than others. Asgard are obviously using throws as an offensive mechanic, weren't they? So you'd try and charge in and double hit something and then throw terrain.
Yeah.
So having like Thor and Jane losing out on the ability to throw a size 4 for an extra 5 damage has been a bit brutal to them. But maybe it shifts the focus of the faction from kind of bringing a lot of big threats to kind of lower threats, especially with the release of like Warriors 3, so they can finally bring 2-3 threats and a big 5 threat, so they don't have to bring a Thor and a Jane all together.
Yeah, I think that's completely valid point. Also as well, I think a massive part of the terrain changes, which we haven't spoke about yet, is when was the last time you played against someone who had Brace for Impact?
I have played somebody since the changes.
Oh, you've ruined that.
They did have Brace in their list, but they didn't take it.
Oh, there we go.
I think people must. Some people will still have Brace in there because they think, "Oh, I must take it."
Yeah.
Because I think it's quite a hard thing to shift Brace. I mean, if you played the game before the changes, you'll go, I need it, and then eventually you might get to a point where you think, oh, I don't need it. Or some teams, I think, probably still do possibly need it. I mean, Convocation still don't like throws. I mean, 3 damage coming into 2 dice is still quite scary for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's many teams that require brace now. I think it does open up more options for use of both of your restricted slots.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say, especially on the competitive side of it, I'd say brace probably made 95-96% of the competitive lists out there, whereas now I'd say I don't even think we'd get 10% of the competitive lists that run brace, which I think is quite healthy for the game. Although it can catch you out, on the other podcast episode on the Criminal Syndicate deep dive, I'm pretty sure I went into brace. That I completely forgot that brace was a thing, and threw something, and they were like, "Oh, brace don't." Oh, that's still a thing. But yeah, I think a lot less people take it now, so I think that side of it as well is quite healthy for the game.
Agreed. I think the fact that brace was seen everywhere showed that terrain was an issue. Maybe not as big of an issue as it's been made out to be with the change down. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, it's killed brace. But I think it's probably a good thing for the game if a card is being taken so often that it's an auto pick. It's it's not offering choice. Whereas now, I mean, you and I have had many debates on patch up versus sack versus indom versus fallback. And obviously that was never the case. It was, which one are you taking after brace?
Yeah,
whereas
definitely.
Now you can go, okay, you've got 2 to pick from.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that's definitely healthy. Also as well, I think the teams that really benefit from the terrain changes are the teams that have got a lot of flight and a lot of wall crawlers. So Web Warriors obviously got a lot of wall crawlers, so they've benefited from the changes. Same with defenders. I know you've got a lot of wall crawlers on your team.
Yeah, it's really helped me. Like I was getting benefits anyway on the lighter terrain, but people putting more size 3s and size 4s on. Obviously, if you're playing into another team that's a lot of size 2s, having the ability to medium or long move over to a size 3 or 4 terrain is a lot better for rotation. It's a lot better for escaping with stuff. So yeah, the wall crawler definitely is coming in more handy.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you the one thing that annoys me with the new terrain, which a lot of people are doing now, is when they put you're going to laugh at me because I think you do it on one of your boards, but when they put dumpsters next to a size 4 or size 5, I think side on it's okay, but if they do it the other way and you completely forget it's there, and like you're playing the game and you're like, right, okay, I'm going to go with, I don't know, someone to push you off that point, and then you go to push them and they're like, oh, you can't because there's a dumpster there, and you're just like, oh, for goodness sake, like I completely forgot that dumpster was there.
Yeah, I think that rule is a little bit weird and wonderful. I understand the game balance of they've got to have it, so if you bump into terrain you've got to stop.
Yeah.
But also thematically, obviously a dumpster, if you're on the top of a size 5 building, isn't going to stop you unless they're treating it as you get thrown into the dumpster, but then you wouldn't bounce back onto the roof. So I can understand it. The problem you get then is if you make it more complicated of, oh, I'm on a size 5 and I'm thrown off and I dive over something, you then have to get into this weird and wonderful conversation of, okay, I'm on a size 5, I'm getting thrown off, I get thrown over stuff, how far is the drop-off range?
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, not many people do it, like putting stuff next to, but I agree, I think it needs to be not on every board, every position having like terrain next to. I think it's got to be kind of like maybe one on a board.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't have bins next to every building. You can't have like street lamps next to a car, next to something else, because it'll create those weird situations. I think if you've got one, maybe it's fine, but anything more than that, I think it becomes a little bit bizarre.
Yeah, I agree. I think personally, if they're going to do that, I think they have to have it so if you're on a size 5 and there's a size 2, which is like connected to the size 5, like base to base, I think you almost just ignore that. As in, like, you get pushed off and you just go the full limit. Personally, anyway, I think if you're on a size 5 and even if you've got a size 4 next to you, I think as long as it's a size below, I think you should still go the full limit. I think that's probably the fairest way of doing it. But I know that obviously MCP's supposed to, the design of it is on like 2D sort of terrain, isn't it? So the fact it's 2D, it just wouldn't work that way.
Yeah, maybe. So I suppose it's a bit like having terrain on top of terrain, because that's the discussion now of if you had, say, a building, you had like a water tank or a satellite dish or something else on top. Does that change? Like, how does that work? What size is that treated as? Do you treat it as size 7 terrain? Do you treat it as size 2 terrain? Like, can you walk over the top of it? All these kind of weird and wonderful questions. So I'd be interested to know what AMG's kind of opinion is on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know whether they'll change it, because it's kind of, I suppose we're looking at it from a competitive mindset, but most of the time I think players would come up with it's size 2, we're both on top of a size 5, it's fine, I can walk over it.
Yeah. Also as well, I think is the only problem with getting pushed off, big buildings is, as you already know, like the higher up you've got your measuring stick, the less accurate it's going to be of where you actually end up, because obviously you're just eyeballing, like, okay, yeah, that's the end of the end of a small move. Okay, I'll plonk down there. It's quite hard to get it precise. Obviously, the higher up you are.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does pose questions, but I'm happy to see more size 5 terrain on board. I think, obviously, I've run a lot of wall-crawler characters, running Daredevil, Spider-Man, and occasionally like Moon Knight and those kind of street-level-y characters that like climbing buildings.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy to see size 5s being added into competitive tables. As you know, John, I've got a full New York board with different size terrain, and having a size 5 can be really impactful during a game, especially if it's somewhere near the middle, because obviously then it creates lanes or like hidden channels, and it then comes down to a lot more about positioning, whereas I didn't think MCP was a lot like that before the change.
Yeah,
because people would just go, here's a big size 4, I'm going to lob it at you if it's on the midline, and then it would be not useful for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
now
definitely.
It's got to the point where size 4, like picking up a size 4 isn't as useful as having, like, you can pick up a size 1 and it has the same impact in terms of damage. The size 4 terrain and being able to control the bigger bits of terrain on the board can win you a game now, rather than it just being, I'm going to pick it up and to try and do 5 damage with it.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just to point out, as you can probably see on the boards that we do, me and Matt do. Big shout out to Matt, my board buddy. Like we're going to try get him on one of the episodes to talk about all of our boards, which will be quite fun and exciting, because Matt absolutely loves what he does with the boards, and he's got a great eye of what's, what boards are good and what boards are bad and what would work. But anyway, there's not many size 5s, if not any, on them boards. It's literally just the fact of lugging them everywhere. We've all got all of our terrain like in each box. You've got like a little carrier bag, and we can hold like 6 in each one. So yeah, unfortunately it doesn't work with all the size 5s, but yeah, hopefully gonna start bringing more size 5s again. But yeah, it's literally just the space, unfortunately, is in each car we can't bring all the size 5s.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's knowing the limit. Like, I don't think you need a size 5 on every board, because I think I remember seeing an AMG kind of recommended thing from a lot of other podcasts they'd been on, where they said it's 0 to 2 size 5. So I don't think it needs one, but having one play around with can be really interesting, because obviously a size 5 is an immovable piece of terrain unless you're bringing Hulk and She-Hulk and the tactics card to get rid of it. It can have a really big impact on the board, especially if like objectives are on there or it's between objectives. So it then poses a question of how do you deal with that piece of terrain.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you and I have had games where on some of my boards at home we've kind of set it up and the size 5's been somewhere near the middle, and it's created a lot of interesting play scenarios where a character's behind the terrain, and at any other time you could have somebody pick it up and throw the terrain, but because it's size 5 you can't. You've got to make the decision of, do I waste an action trying to move and deal with that character, or do I focus my attention somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the game that you're on about, I'm pretty sure I had Taskmaster at one side and you had Daredevil the other, and they just kept like doing their attack, like my shield throw and your baton hook, and they were just attacking each other from afar without even seeing each other, which was quite funny.
Yeah, that one was quite funny. The other one I'm thinking of is we played a Webs versus Inhumans game, and you had the option of walking Black Bolt to try and daze a character that I think was on 2, or you could try and double tap into I think it was Gwen and take her off the board entirely. So it was one where I was going to score 2 VPs, or another where it would give you the swing in the next round, and it was interesting looking at the way you kind of process that of, can take a gamble with one attack, or I can double tap here but then give up VP, and it's that I think that's what size 5s offer you.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I'd never run Humans. What you on about?
It was just a game to test, wasn't it?
Yeah.
for a tournament, so it was. I let you off that one time.
Yeah, I was the big mean baddie of showing our team what Inhumans could do. But awesome. I think as well, just a quick one before we get into questions. I think your Tricks and Traps teams work really well. So like Bucky 2, Green Goblin. I think they're. Mystique as well with her not espionage. I can't remember what it's called now, but where she gets to blow terrain up. Even Winterguard. They've obviously got that tactics card where anyone within 1 suffer 2 damage. So I think they're winners out of the train changes as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think those have probably benefited a lot, even though Rhino's taken a hit. They've got a lot of flight. They've got a lot of Warcrawler. Some of them have got really low terrain throws, but often you'd look at not blowing up a lamppost with Goblin because there'd be no benefit. Whereas now, everywhere you go is a minefield, because Goblin will blow it up because he's got the power to, and he can deal the same amount of damage whether it's a big piece of terrain or a small piece of terrain. Yeah,
definitely. Also as well, I think the last thing I can think of before we do get into questions is Tigra. It's Tigra, isn't it?
I'd say Tigra. I don't think we've ever heard of official pronunciation.
Yeah, but her anyway. She's
lady. Yeah.
The cat lady. There we go, cat lady. She actually does the most amount of damage with a throw, doesn't she? When she throws herself when she's on terrain.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of conversation about this, because this probably relates to a wider thing of. I've seen a lot of complaints about Thor 2, and so it's Thor, Hero of Midgard, and is it Sabretooth Apex Predator that's also got the same type of throw.
Yeah.
So they were size 3, throwing themselves medium, paying 3 power for it. And I've seen a lot of people saying that should be 2. But if you look as a comparison and bring in Tiger in as well, all 3 of those characters have got a medium throw, and they pay 3 power for it. Whereas, say, like the Black Panthers, the Wolverine's tactics card, what's the other one? There's like lots of characters have got size 2, short throws,
Yeah.
They were only paying 2, so it's almost you're paying the extra power for the extra distance, not just the damage, which I think is often lost. It's like comparing a better throw where you can throw medium compared to short, or a bigger size or a bigger distance to pick up to throw.
Yeah.
Like if you compare Blue Marvels, he can pick up range 3, throw medium. That is infinitely better than, say, like Modok, who can pick up within range. Is it range 3 or range 2? And you can throw only short.
Range 3, but yeah, only short, which is really really sad, and it's only terrain as well, not characters.
Exactly, yeah. So I think a lot of the time people are kind of focused on the damage point of view, but I think the distance you get off that as well is really important, because being able to throw a 50 mil base in the case of Thor, Hero of Midgard, being able to throw medium, that's an incredible amount of movement. Obviously, it's not as good as a charge because he's not going to place exactly where he wants. So you've got to be really specific with it. But it's still free movement. It's still a bit of action compression.
Yeah, you could even argue it's better than a charge if he's within a medium range or bumping into someone onto a point. You could even argue it's better than a charge because he's dealing 3 damage, which obviously they've got to block, and then he still gets 2 attacks. So in some situations, the throw will be better than the charge.
Exactly, yeah. I think this is the thing that often gets forgotten, is the kind of benefits of it. Like, it's free movement and it's free damage, isn't it? You're not having to roll any dice in that scenario.
Yeah, and as we all know, I like to roll as little dice as possible. So if I can throw someone into someone, I can't be upset with my dice roll.
Throw, isn't it, John? That's the motto.
I'm a changed man now. I'm a changed man. I've moved away from Kingpin for a little bit, so
I have had to check on you for that. You're rolling dice. I'm slightly worried about you.
I know.
You caught a cold.
The only positive is, well, yeah. So if people have seen my latest YouTube video, I've tried out Hulkbuster. The only positive about Hulkbuster is you could do 0 damage, but you still get the push. So like, I can still be like a little bit annoyed of not dealing damage, but I'm like, oh, okay, I've pushed you off a point, it's fine.
Yeah, it's silver linings, eh?
That's it, mate. That is it. But right, should we get into some questions? Because I think we've got quite a few questions on terrain.
Yeah, so we've had quite a few questions on the Discord. If you're interested in sending questions to us, join our Discord, which is linked down in the description. We've got a great community there, so if you're interested in joining, follow the link. So first question is from a good buddy, Rid. General consensus on more terrain, less throw damage seems to be an acceptance that terrain throws are less valuable. There's a lot less discussion on how much more valuable Warcrawler and Flight are with more dense boards. Has it made the game more tactical in that sense for you? So I think we've had my kind of opinion on that. So what do you think about it, John?
Yeah, I definitely think it has made the game more tactical. I think, as I said, webs, I feel as if they needed a buff. They've definitely got a buff with it. Being able to just move about the board without any sort of obstacles as such in their way, apart from Black Cat. Most of the others are wall crawlers. Off the top of my head, I don't think there's any other webs that aren't wall crawler, but anyway, yeah, I think teams like Web Warriors do very much benefit from this, because they can just say pick an extract up and then move back and then just be out of range. One, be out of range of everyone, but two, be behind cover or behind a size 3, where the opponent can't just move once and get line of sight. So I think it has definitely made the game more tactical. Also as well, like things like Spider Tracker. I think Spider Tracker, you can benefit yourself with Spider Tracker, where you end a movement with a Web Warrior, knowing that Spider Track is still online, and you put yourself right next to a terrain where you know the small move will get you out of line of sight. But obviously there's a lot more places to pick now with terrain. So I definitely think it's made it more tactical. I think it's made attrition... It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think attrition's better off, because attrition generally, unless you're going... the gun points like Shield or Guardians, but obviously Guardians have got a lot of throws now, but I think it's made attrition so they can throw a lot more things, but if you have got a gun point, it's made them worse. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on that question, unless you've got something to add.
Not really. I think the only other things I can think of is use of like fallback and Eye in the Sky. Like having more terrain on the board now means with stuff like you want to almost have some Warcrawler or flight characters that can use fallback to hop over the terrain a little bit more. Because if you can walk behind a size 3 with fallback, it stops the double tap even if you're still in range. And the same is true of Eye in the Sky. Like if you can Eye in the Sky away, you'll probably still you can get behind out of line of sight to stop the attack. But if you can do it in such a way that it stops, if they haven't got any action compression, they have to waste a movement following you, and it might be off a point. It can be really impactful. Yeah,
definitely agree with that.
Okay, next question is from Greg, and it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek question. Who has the best boards in the UK, and why is it yours?
Oh dear. Well, thanks, Greg. Anyway, that is very kind of you. But I won't take that as I have the best boards. we've got very good boards. I'm not going to lie. Again, it's our good friend Matt, who we get all the boards from Tarek. So we get the boards and the backboards, which both together, before there's even any terrain on the boards, look amazing. And then, as I said, Matt's got such a good eye on what would work with certain boards, which is quite funny. Like, we've got this little joke where Matt's like the banker and I'm the painter, because sometimes after like events he's like, oh, I've got another board, and he'll give me like a whole box of like terrain that I need to paint. I'm like, cheers, buddy. But no, but like, obviously I look through it and everything, and put the board on the table and with the backboard, and I think, oh, this just looks amazing. Like, so we've got Matt to definitely thank for that. But yeah, I think that's my answer to that. Have you got anything to add to that?
Matt is definitely the terrain kingpin of the Midlands.
Definitely. Sure. Definitely.
I don't know what that makes you, John. Does that make you Bullseye? Does that make you like Turk? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that makes me.
Yeah. Next question is from Tom. How do you use terrain to your advantage in a game, more in terms of movement than throws?
Okay, so I think we've spoke a fair bit about this, because I think a lot of it has to do with like Warcrawler and flight, but for argument's sake, if you haven't got Warcrawler or flight, I think almost knowing where the middle of a board is will definitely help out. What I mean by that is when you get to pick board edge, I mean, it's a very English thing where I guess when in real life event you don't generally swap sides, because you're just like, okay, I've plonked here, I know the terrain's worse this side, but I'm just gonna stay here because we've started putting everything out. But yeah, knowing where the middle of the board is can very much help you out, so you can see where the terrain is and you know exactly where the extracts or secures are. So for argument's sake, on your side, if there's a size 3 that's almost in the midline, but it's like slightly further, and then that's going to be an extract that you can easily pick up with a size 2 and not worry about any like repercussions. But yeah, apart from Wallcrawler and Flight and that, I can't think of too much other stuff. What about you, Ollie?
The only thing I can think of is using terrain to stop placements on tokens and things.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
you kind of body block somebody out from placing. So I think one that you and I tend to have is models that place off another character when they make an attack. So things like Rhino, Moon Knight Spender, for example, Logan the Wolverine, those kind of characters where they must place. There's no trigger; they have to do it after the attack. And if you can put it in a way where if they attack you, they can't place on the point. They've got to make they've either got to kill somebody or displace them, or throw some of the terrain. If they don't have terrain throws, it can really lock people out from being able to place. So that's quite a useful thing, especially as we're going to see more and more kind of unique crisis coming in the new crisis pack. I think it'll be something you can try and use to an advantage.
Yeah, I agree, and like adding on to that as well, knowing where the secures are going to be, and say for argument's sake you're on Scoundrels and your back Scoundrel, like one side's got a terrain piece directly behind the Scoundrel and the other side doesn't. Maybe, like for me as a Kingpin player, I would definitely pick Kingpin to be on the side where he's body blocked on that secure. So people like Shuri is obviously Kingpin's nightmare. She can't just push him off a point straight away. So knowing sort of what side to put certain characters that can sort of stay on a point is very, very valid as well.
Yeah, exactly. Another one is things like deployment. So when I'm picking terrain, like looking at what terrain's in both deployment zones, I'll make sure that I can deploy models. It doesn't block me from deployment.
Yeah.
Or if there's a character that wants to go in a specific direction, if they haven't got Wallcrawler or Flight, deploying them in such a way that they don't have to make a climb. They're already on top of the terrain in some way.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you are going to deploy them behind terrain, make sure that they can get to the place they want to be. So if they're going towards the midline, for example, Luke Cage, and there's a size 3 in the way, he can short move and then medium move to get there still. So if he's got to climb at some point, he should be okay, but it depends where the terrain sits. So if it's going to sit halfway where he's going to have to bump slightly back or bump, like the tool won't let him place his base exactly where I want it, I won't deploy him there. Then that's something you have to kind of consider kind of going on, because then Luke might end up slightly short and he can't pick up, and you've wasted his activation and he's on the midline, so you're not getting a benefit for it.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, like if there's size 3s or size 4s in your deployment zone, putting characters that have got Wallcrawler or Flight behind them is fine, but yeah, try to sort of avoid putting other characters behind it unless it's like a D shape, which, spoiler alert, they've all gone really, apart from Scientific Samples, and there's the new one. But anyway, I'm getting off the topic. Yeah, it's good to just place characters that haven't got Wallcrawler or Flight in a position where they can just move without having to climb. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on that one, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. So I'll kind of combine this question. Sean's got some fantastic questions. So what is a good balanced board from you in a terrain perspective? And are there any terrain designs you feel are problematic? So shapes of terrain, i.e. like bigger terrain pieces that are easier to hide behind, but they're long and thin, or a weird shape, or anything like that?
That's a good question. So what's a balanced board look like? I'd say I think AMG have done a very good job of, as you said earlier, of sort of telling you the recommended sizes. So like size 5s, like 0 to 2. So I think being in that limit is the best way to go. I think having certain things that you can stand on is a good way of having a board as well. Saying that, we've got a Mephisto board where you literally cannot stand on anything, but I personally like them boards. I know a lot of people don't like them boards, but I quite like it. But I think a balanced board altogether, like obviously you've got the one or two where you can't stand on certain things, but I think having terrain pieces that you can stand on is quite balanced. And what was the other part of that question, did you say?
Problematic terrain designs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I absolutely love the Quinjet. I think it looks amazing, but you just every time that you like stand on it, you slide on it. And I think as well, where the wings are, it's very awkward to know whether you can stand under the wings or not under the wings. So I think that's probably the problematic one I can think of. Although I absolutely do love it and I do put it on my boards, but the problematic terrain pieces I normally put in one of the corners, just so it makes the board look better and it won't actually like impact the game too much. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, so I think whenever I'm kind of helping set the boards up at your events, I'm always trying to spread stuff out, so you're not getting all the size 2s together and all the size 3s and all the size 5s, and
Yeah,
you're kind of having an even spread so that there's big terrain, small terrain, and kind of have that impact, whilst still trying to make it look thematic, because obviously all your boards are really beautifully themed to the mat and the backboard, so it's got to kind of make sense but also have that kind of competitive edge. I think from problematic stuff, it's a bit like you. I love this terrain piece, but it drives me mental. Is the Doctor Strange Sanctum Sanctorum?
oh yeah,
Because there's a 1-inch strip all the way around where you can't stand, which is where the edge of the building is to the roof. So if an objective ends up there, you can't. It's because it's not flat as well. You can't blue tack it on. You can't kind of hover it. So I remember playing a game on Mayor Fisk, and the token ends up kind of in that kind of grey zone. And I was thinking, well, how do we secure it on there without it falling off? And
yeah,
it's a lovely terrain piece, but it's just really difficult to get stuff to fit. I mean, most of the AMG terrain is great. The only other one that drives me mental is the Ultron kind of destroyed petrol station.
oh
Because
yeah,
the Ultron drones, where they fit, you can't stand on the rubble. But I never know whether you count the rubble or not, because is a little bit of rubble going to be size 4? Probably not.
yeah.
But obviously it's part of the base of it, so technically it should be. So that also causes a little bit of a weirdness to it. But other than that, I don't think there's much AMG terrain that's awkward. I mean, a lot of it looks cool and thematic, so it's what you want, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other one I can think of is the Wakanda Falls. Just because obviously the back of it is so open. But I mean, I've foamed the back of mine up, and it looks quite nice. But it's definitely made it a lot bigger. But you can't really stand on that or do much with that either. Again, it looks nice. So I think the size 5s that are like awkward but look nice, I think they're fine to sort of be in one of the corners. Yeah.
I think AMG have said that kind of terrain piece wasn't designed to be like a set piece, was it? It was kind of designed to be a hobby project. Kind of terrain
definitely.
Piece. So I think that one is cool, because if you had like a side section where you kind of got the falls on the edge, it's not going to take up too much space, but it looks really thematic.
Yeah, definitely.
No one can get away with, can't you?
I agree. Yeah.
So we've got quite a long list of questions from Leon. So his first question is there a board design you would like to make or see that you haven't yet, that is either inspired by Marvel Comics or the MCU?
So first of all, big shout out to Leon. He's the guy which got me into playing Hulkbuster. So yeah, big shout out to Leon. Is there a board design that we've not seen yet that we're inspired?
We'll focus MCU because you're. I know you don't read many comics.
Yeah, I definitely don't read many comics. So
I think it's hard because you've painted so many.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've not painted yet that you think could be a board?
We've got so many boards, so like most of the boards that people think of we've probably got. I mean, we've got 24 boards now. We've got everything from Savage Lands to Atlantis to I've forgotten the name of it now. Magneto's Asteroid M. So yeah, we've got like
Atlantis,
so many.
Like,
Definitely.
Yeah, there's so many weird and wonderful ones that just aren't New York, that are like so different in the way that the terrain sets up, but
Yeah.
work really well.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a good one actually. It's a bit of a niche one, but I think the one that's topping, like, you know, coming to my head is X-Men 97, when X-Men go to, I can't remember if it's the moon or another planet. It's got to be probably another planet, and they fight the Shi'ar. That sort of board that they fight on would be pretty cool. But that's the only thing I can think of, because all the others we've pretty much done. What about you?
So I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to pick another New York board. But it's all thematic, so it's fine. So I would either love a subway board, one that works. You know, I've seen a lot of 3D printed ones where they've got the tracks for the subway to dip into. But obviously, you then get this weirdness of, well, wherever the train isn't, you can't place a model in that edge, so they tip over, or if you drop in, it gets all this weird and wonderful kind of placing problems. So if I could get it so that it was level, or find a way to level it all off, that would be one. The other one would be kind of an Oscorp or like Doc Ock themed like lab, a bit like how you'd see in like the first Spider-Man film, or the kind of classic 90s animated Spider-Man show, where like it's Doc Ock's hidden lab, and he's got like all of the Octobots and all these kind of weird and wonderful creations.
Yeah, it sounds really, really cool actually. I've actually played on this, like a subway board. There was one in Ireland. It was really fun, but as you said, because the levels as well, and because you're not actually on a terrain piece, what me and my opponent were saying is, as long as you know your character can sort of, the base can sort of go over the edge, as long as they can obviously support their own weight, they can go over the edge, because it wasn't obviously terrain, so it should have been flat. But it is pretty awkward, especially when we started doing like pushes and throws, because again, like holding the small or the medium measuring tool up, you're going to be less accurate. So yeah, but it was fun. But yeah, having that so it's, you know, completely 2D would be really, really cool.
Makes sense. Next one, another one from Leon. For events, would you rather tables have similar sizes of terrain, or for there to be variety across the table? So one table has more 3s and 4s, and another has mostly 1s and 2s.
Yeah, I think boards that vary are very good and very, very healthy. I don't think every board should look the same or have the same amount as 3s and 4s, the same as 1s and 2s, because I think I quite like that sort of feeling of getting to a table and sort of processing the board and being like, right, okay, there's not as many 3s and 4s on this one as my last game. How am I going to sort of benefit that? How am I going to work with it? So like, I love the fact, when you get to a different board, it's completely different to the one you've already played. So I like them to all vary, definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about MCP is every game is entirely different. With the crisis and the terrain, you don't go in with the same mindset every time, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think certain games can, you almost feel like a robot, because everything's just very, very similar or like the same. Whereas I love the difference between boards. With MCP, I think it's really, really cool.
Agreed. I think Leon also mentions about what do you think of standard layouts, a bit like how competitive 40k has. I think you're probably of the same opinion as me that standard layouts are probably a little bit boring because especially with like a crisis or in the same place every time, you'll just get a standard start and the way the game goes.
Yeah, I think having every table the same would be very boring, and also if every table was exactly the same, you would know exactly which side of the board edge that you'd want to be on if you won Prio. So I think it's quite healthy for everything to be different, definitely.
Yeah, makes sense. So then we've got another Tom asking questions. Shout out to Tom, one of your last event.
Yeah, he did. Good lad.
So he says, AMG or Will Schick mentioned that the gap between terrain is more of a guideline. Do you think this and the changes to throws enable actual city street boards to exist?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've been to New York or you've sort of seen, I'm sure you've seen sort of photos of New York, you'll see like obviously there's a lot of dumpsters that are like next to the board, next to the bigger terrain pieces, the shops and the flats and everything like that. So I definitely think it looks, a lot more thematic with the street boards. Again, like as we spoke about before, I think having all the size 2s and 1s next to a size 4 or 5 looks great, but I think having it so both opponents can always see it is better. Don't sort of hide it behind, hide it on one side, because your opponent or you will definitely forget it's there, and there's that obviously that feel bad of you wouldn't obviously take an attack back, but the only reason you'd have done that attack to get a wild or to get the auto push off a point, and if there's a dumpster there which stops you, then it can feel quite bad. But I do really, really like the fact that Will said that the gap between terrain is more of a guideline, so more people are putting terrain like next to terrain, but I just think people just need to be a bit sensible about it, and as I said, make sure that both opponents can see the terrain at all times.
Makes sense. He's also got a question that'll make you chuckle, John. Will John actually ever play MODOK? What are the crisis conditions for him to play hit the board?
Oh, okay. So deep dive into Criminal Syndicate. Here we go. Well, I've kind of gone, as I said, I've gone off Kingpin a little bit at the moment. I'll probably end up going back to him, but I've given it a bit of a break. But will I ever play MODOK? I love MODOK. And yeah, it was mainly on the pay to flips that I was bringing him out, which I'm very, very good at avoiding pay to flips, so he was just not seeing the board much. But I think talking about terrain and trying to bring it into more of like the terrain front of it, I think MODOK's great because he can throw a lot of terrain around. Also as well, you can have it so when he's bringing someone in to to block an attack, you can have it so most of the people around him are like behind terrain, so they're getting the cover. So yeah, but there's not too much else to say about MODOK.
Too busy sat in his chair, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from one of the locals, from Johnny. What values of terrain would you like to see more of on gaming tables?
I think, I think ones and twos there should be a lot more of than threes and fours. Just because one, I think it makes the board look better and it doesn't keep it as cramped. Because as I said, like especially with our boards now, we've got 20 pieces of terrain on each board. If you had, for argument's sake, if you had 15 like size threes, there would be nowhere to stand which isn't on terrain. So I think, having a lot more ones and twos makes the board look better, and it's a lot more, it's a lot easier to sort of get around the board and to move around and stuff and not knock anything over. But yeah, what about you?
I'm size fives. I'm still campaigning for more size fives, especially one dead in the middle.
You just want a rooftop. You just want to have like a rooftop, don't you? So you'll have like a range 2 between all the size fives, but then like so it'll be like proper streets.
Can I have a gargoyle on the front so I can stand there brooding as well? Daredevil style.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from Dave. What is the coolest or most original board you've played on?
I'm going to try to keep it away from mine and Matt's boards, but I've played on some cool like Savage Land boards before we got one. They're really cool. Or I've had played on a Sentinel board, which I know Norbert's got a really cool Sentinel board from London. So that's really, really fun. Also, actually thinking about it, quite a while ago, I can't remember if it was fall or spring, which is a big 2-day event at Element Games in Manchester, which Tony Moore runs, which are amazing, by the way. There was a really, really good board which James Doxey made, which was like a Wakanda board, but he 3D printed off like a really, really cool ship, and he had like a really cool waterfall, and he had crocodiles that you could throw. So yeah, I think thinking about it, that's probably been my favourite board that I've played on. What about you?
You've just changed my mind. I've got a different board. I remember that one now. That's definitely up there. I've got pictures of that. If anybody wants to see that, I will drop that in our Discord for everybody to have a look at. The other one is the one from the Omega Weekender way back, probably about a year ago now, which was the Central Park board. I had not thought about it. I saw this board, I took pictures of it, and I was like, I'm going to create something similar, and I now have a Central Park board as a result. So
nice.
I think that was Will that painted that up, and that was a beautiful board as well. I'll have to share pictures of that one as well.
Yeah, if people haven't seen Will's painting from ProTech, you need to see it. He is a very, very good painter.
Okay. So I suppose we've kind of answered this question, but have you got any outlandish ideas for boards you'd like to see?
Again,
I've got one.
Okay.
I've got one. Themed score trackers.
Okay.
Because Dave's done that. It's funny that Dave's asked the question. Dave did a beautiful one for his Midnight Suns themed kind of like cemetery, where the score tracker was graves. So the round timer was you had 6 different burial plots, and you'd move a coffin along in each one.
I remember that. That was a beautiful score tracker. That was really, really cool. But I think score trackers. I think do more things with score trackers would be really, really fun to see. That gives me an idea of doing a score tracker per board. So like having like an Atlantis score tracker and a haunted one, and that gives me so many ideas actually.
Oh no, what have I started?
Yeah, you have definitely started something off.
Okay, and then last question. Leon's got another fantastic question, so this will be a good one. He says, I don't like that climbing doesn't take into account whether your character is already on terrain. So if a character is stood on a size 5 and they advance onto the floor and then onto a size 3, they would have to take a climb. Do you think this is problematic, or do you think this is completely fine?
So that's a very good question. I think from a gaming point of view, I think they shouldn't change it, because if you've got like a, say for argument's sake, you've got like a black cat and she's on a size 5, and you put the long tool out and she can just about get to, it's literally like on the tip of another size 3, that you've not really took into account of her jumping down, running and going up another bit. And I think if you're starting to do it, so like if terrain say it's got to be within 2, then you're allowed to do it. I just think it'll be quite clunky design. But obviously, like thematically, it shouldn't. If your size 5 is next to a size 3, you should be able to like almost leap from one side to the other. So you shouldn't have to like jump down and climb back up it. But from a gaming point of view, I think they shouldn't sort of do anything like that, if it makes sense.
Yeah, because thinking about it, you can get these weird things where if you put a size 4 and a size 3 building next to each other, if you jump off the size 4 onto the size 3, technically you are climbing up the size 3 if you don't have wall crawler.
Yeah.
But the fact you're dropping down, you are technically climbing up.
Yeah, definitely.
So that does create some weirdness. I mean, I tend to create those boards naturally, and I don't tend to notice it, but that's because I'm running a lot of wall crawler or place characters.
Yeah.
That is definitely a weird thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that gets looked at in the future. I'm not sure, with the kind of changes.
I've just thought of a really funny one actually. If you've got a rocket who's on the size 5 and he's trying to medium move off it and there's a dumpster there.
He has to climb, yes.
Yeah, it should be really funny. But again, I think that goes back into it's a very, very hard one to navigate. Again, it goes back into earlier on when we're saying, potentially if there's a size 2 touching the size 5 and you get pushed, whether you should be able to push the whole way or stop. So it's it's definitely a good conversation to have, but I'm not sure whether AMG will ever change that or not. But yeah,
maybe that's a forum question. Maybe we post it in a forum and see if AMG decide to make any changes.
Yeah, definitely. But awesome. Right, I think we've covered a lot of terrain questions and covered quite a lot of terrain. But if there's any other questions that you've got, definitely join our Discord. Ask there. Even if you've got no questions, join the Discord. There's lots of talk about all sorts of things, whether it's lists changing, whether it's obviously events that are going on near us, or if you just want to get a game in with me or Ollie or any of the other Galaxy's Greatest, then by all means come along. You're more than welcome to come, and it'd be great to get more people into the Discord.
Yeah, we're looking to create a really kind of friendly community, almost like as if you're in a store, but obviously you could be playing with people halfway around the world. It's really what we're trying to promote.
100%. But well, thanks guys for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you in the next one.